It's one of the proudest nights of my life.
I think the best part of this evening is the love and the kindness in the room. You feel it.
If every person in the world lived their life like Stan Musial did his, you could all walk away proud.
CBS Sports presents, from St. Louis, the most inspiring night in sports. Join Baltimore Oriole Chris Davis, living legend Jackie Joyner-Kersee, and honorees Bart and Nadia Comaneci as we celebrate strength, character, humility, and true sportsmanship. This is the 2019 Musial Awards, presented by Maryville University.
Welcome to the Musial Awards, a celebration of the year's greatest moments of sportsmanship and those in sports who embody class and character. We come to you from St. Louis, a city where Stan Musial made his mark as one of the greatest baseball players ever. These awards bear his name not just because of what he did on the field, but for how he played the game and the way he treated others. And his legacy lives on as we honor those who inspire us through their extraordinary sportsmanship. You know, as we cheer the athletes we watch, we sometimes overlook the adage, they're humans, not machines. But that outlook is not lost on a young Boston Red Sox fan. Leave it to 10-year-old Henry FRASCA in a heartfelt letter to give us some inspiring perspective.
Squad card, program and line up for the game. 2 back. Go Sox, baby. Let's go.
On these streets, echoes of the past whisper just beneath the clamor of the present. And recently, at historic Fenway Park in Boston, there was yet another moment of note.
I love coming here to play.
Chris Davis doesn't play for the hometown Red Sox, but he's come to the plate here more than 250 times, mostly as a member of the Baltimore Orioles. From 2012 to 2017, he hit 197 home runs, becoming the highest paid player on the team. But as good as he was on the field, he was even better off. His character and community involvement has earned him 3 straight nominations for Major League Baseball's Roberto Clemente Award.
And that's always been extremely important to me, to use the platform to the best of my ability to help others and to do whatever I can.
He's continued giving back even when he's felt like giving up.
Strike 3 called on the inside corner, so Davis 0 for 4.
When Davis came to Fenway this past April, the former All-Star had gone hitless in 54 consecutive at-bats.
I was raised in the South as kind of a pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of guy, but I was just getting worn out.
Really, I was sad because someone was going through something that no one should have to go through.
About 12 miles from Fenway Park is Honeywell Field, where 10-year-old Henry FRASCA plays baseball.
Go, go, go.
I've been playing since I was 5 or 6.
And what do you love about it?
Just everything. I always do that.
Henry is a Boston fan and hopes to play for the Red Sox when he grows up. So last April, he was excited to hear that he was going with his dad to a Red Sox-Orioles game. Though he was rooting for the Sox, in a show of kindness, he brought a note for Davis.
And I went down to the Orioles dugout, and a security guard comes over to me and says, "You can't be here."
He finally got the attention of Orioles coach Tim Cousins.
So I did give it to him. He was standing in the tunnel. It was just like a movie.
I opened up the letter and I read it and obviously was extremely touched.
Dear Chris Davis, I'm Henry FRASCA, a 9-year-old kid and diehard Red Sox fan. There are 2 things I want you to know. First of all, the way you play baseball has absolutely nothing to do with how good a person you are. Secondly, you are incredible. Like, you've played in the MLB for a long time. You are incredible. Don't give up. We are rooting for you. Henry FRASCA.
I decided to put it in a plastic bag, actually 2 Ziploc bags, and put it in my back pocket. And I carried it around with me all day.
0 for 38, continues.
Just a short time later, Davis came to the plate in the first inning with 2 men on.
Wind up, Davis is gonna get one. And for Chris Davis, it's over, baby. We're not talking about it anymore.
I turned to my dad and said, we did it.
Davis was still carrying the letter around a few weeks later when the two finally met in person.
When the Orioles came back to Boston, Davis returned the favor, inviting Henry to Fenway to have a catch before the game.
It was awesome. I definitely wanted to get to know him a little bit better and hang out a little bit.
I don't even know how to describe it. It was that incredible.
The fact that you had the courage to write the letter, and not only write it, but to come down to our dugout after being told no by the security guard, and you were relentless to get it to me. It's just, that's really special. I hope you know that. Not a lot of kids wouldn't have had the courage to do that, and I'm glad you did.
Thanks.
The right words at the right time. One young man showing that you don't have to be big and strong to lift someone up.
He's a special kid, there's no doubt about it.
Watching that video, you get the sense that Chris Davis is a pretty good sport. And earlier this month, he and his wife Jill made a $3 million gift to the University of Maryland Children's Hospital. On top of all that, he's here this evening to present the Musial Award to Henry. Please welcome Baltimore Orioles first baseman Chris Davis. And from Sudbury, Massachusetts, let's hear it for Henry FRASCA. So, we mentioned that the security guard tried to shoo you away, but it wasn't just one time, was it?
No, it was 5.
Well, it paid off, didn't it?
Tell me what that day was like when you got to be at Fenway Park with Chris and hanging around.
It was really special.
What was the day like for you, Chris?
It was awesome just to get to know him a little bit and tell him how much I appreciated him picking me up in a low spot, and tell him how proud I was of him. I mean, he was an encouragement not only to me, but to my teammates, guys I played against, and it's a big deal.
Well, we're honored that you could be here. In fact, Henry, why don't I hold that for a second, because you've got something that you would like to do right now. You know what to do? Okay. So, Chris has shown incredible generosity. He never lost his sense of humor during the streak. He gave his time to be here for Henry tonight, and so we think, Chris, you're deserving of a Musial Award. Congratulations. All right, a young runner from South Carolina, Darius Crua, with an uplifting show of selflessness.
Aaron Crane and Darius Crua don't go to the same school and haven't known each other for very long, but they have quite a history. They're both from North Augusta, South Carolina. If you live in Aaron's neighborhood, you've probably seen him run by your house.
Oh, he loves it. He loves it. I mean, we'll be sitting at the house, and he want to get the dog and go run around the block with the dog.
About 5 miles away, Darius is usually wearing down his own path in the pavement.
Running club was the first time he's joined a sport, and he's done it for 2 school years in a row.
Just 2 strangers from the same town who like the same thing. And then one day last spring, it was the 11th annual end-of-the-year track meet at North Augusta High School.
This is a huge event. We have 8 area schools that participate.
We categorize them by grades, so we have from 1st grade to 5th grade.
And the very last race of the day, Darius and Aaron and the other 5th grade boys.
Did you think you could possibly win?
Yeah, sir.
but the starting line was clogged up with more than 30 runners.
We had all the 5th grade boys from every school like balled up down there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like tight and people couldn't get around.
It was almost like slow motion. I saw Aaron starting to fall kind of in the middle of the mass.
In the crowd of runners, Aaron tripped over someone's foot.
Aaron was still running and he did this and he fell forward.
He fell forward. And did you know right away you broke your wrist?
No, sir, I did not.
And you didn't get up right away?
No, because it was hurting too bad.
Darius took the lead as all this happened. And then, as all the other runners kept moving forward, Darius turned back to see if Aaron, someone he didn't know, was okay.
Next thing I noticed, Darius turning around and coming back to check on him.
What did he say to you?
He asked if I was okay, and he got a teacher.
Just the fact that that child didn't have to be told, oh, I need to go back and check on this kid. He did it because of who he was.
You could have won the race. Why did you think it was important to go back?
Because it's always good to help somebody.
No one seems to remember who got the blue ribbon in the 5th grade race. The winner on this day was the young man who decided that the right place wasn't being in first place.
I thought that spoke tremendously on their character at such a young age.
Kids are showing what a lot of adults need to learn.
I'm happy that he did a good deed and he helped someone, but he also gained a friend.
Well, Darius was there for Aaron on that day back in May, and tonight Aaron is here for his buddy. Please welcome Aaron Crane. And accepting the Musial from North Augusta, South Carolina, here's Darius Crua. Aaron, how's that wrist doing?
It's doing good. I can actually throw it better.
You can now?
Yeah.
Tell me what was going through your mind. You could have won that race. Why did you want to come back?
Because I thought it would be nice and it would be kind to help someone.
And it clearly was, but you never thought anything like this would happen, did you?
Yes, sir.
And are you guys going to be running this year?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, you guys keep it up. Congratulations on a Musial Award. Thank you very much. Good job. Way to go.
Enterprise salutes Musial Award recipient Darius Crua for the kindness and concern he showed his competitor. Like Darius, Enterprise believes in the power of picking up others. For more on the Musial Awards, visit musialawards.com. Click on Honorees to see the interviews in their entirety. Coming up, the inspiring story of how two strangers in a marathon became lifelong friends through a simple act of kindness. An appearance by living legend Jackie Joyner-Kersee. And an emotional tale about how this superfan helped bring home the cup.
There's Stan the man, Stan Musial.
Maryville University is honored to be the presenting sponsor of the Musial Awards. We're proud to play a role in celebrating sportsmanship in America and the legacy of Stan the Man. This event and all the honorees inspire us to be good sports and show us what a winner truly is. So on behalf of Maryville University, the 4th fastest growing university in the nation, enjoy the Musial Awards, one of the greatest nights in all of sport.
You're about to meet Laura Mazer and Jessica Robertson, themselves strangers until meeting at mile 14 of the Pittsburgh Marathon. Laura was running in her 12th marathon. Jessica, it was her first, and it was a struggle. A spirit of determination and two athletes looking out for one another resulted in an unforgettable finish and a story of sportsmanship.
And they're off, and we have officially begun.
first half was pretty good. There was hundreds of other people running. I remember stopping and encouraging some people who were struggling. And then we got to the 12-mile marker. There was no one in sight. I went from like several hundred people around me to absolutely no one. And I immediately just started sobbing. I got to the point where I had hit my own personal brick wall. I needed a person, and just when I was crumbling, there was Laura.
I looked back, same time she looked up at me, and I'm like, girl, get up here. And so she ran up beside me and grabbed my hand, and I'm like, okay, you know, because like I didn't expect her to grab my hand, like I was fine if she did, but like, you know, obviously we're complete strangers, so like I was fine with like her, you know, grab my hand. You're like, all right, you know, just stay with me here a little bit.
I saw two women holding hands, running together, and I got tears in my eyes. It was just a really beautiful athlete to athlete, human to human type of moment.
When we saw them turn that corner, holding hands, everybody felt the emotion. These were two people that realized that they both were struggling, and they teamed up like any good team would do and say, listen, I'm not gonna let you down, you're not gonna let me down.
We covered a lot of ground that day.
There's just so many people out there you don't know. Put a hand out and, you know.
Leave it out long enough for someone to grab it.
Yep.
So the person presenting Laura and Jessica with their Musial Awards is someone synonymous with kindness, graciousness, and determination. She's a past recipient of the Musial Lifetime Achievement Award, and she's St. Louis's very own Jackie Joyner-Kersee. From New Bremen, Ohio, Laura Mazer, and from Pittsburgh, PA, Jessica Robertson. Well, welcome to St. Louis.
Thank you for having us.
So, you know, running is such an individual sport.
It is.
But you guys made it teamwork.
Yes, in all truth, in that moment, I was falling apart. I had FaceTimed my mother. I was sobbing into the phone, and my mother said to me, I love you, I'm praying for you, and I don't think you really want to give up. And I kept running, well, walking and crying, more realistically. A lot of crying, a little bit of movement. And up ahead, I seen Laura, and I called my mom back, and I said, I found someone. And she says, I told God to send your guardian angel.
And so she comes up to you, and then what happens?
Well, then I was with her long enough, and I got to FaceTime with her mom. And her daughter and her aunt. And we got to sing together. We got to talk a little bit. And we prayed together, and it was just a great day. Family affair.
What kept you guys going?
Got to finish what you start.
You know, I think they both summed it up by perseverance, and you work so hard, and all of a sudden you hit that wall, but you dig deep, because in sports sometimes, yes, we are competitors, but acts of kindness can go a long ways.
They sure can. Thank you all very much for being here, and congratulations. Thank you very much.
Coming up, the 11-year-old St. Louis Blues fan who won our hearts. World-famous gymnasts Bart Connor and Nadia Comaneci. And opponents who came to the rescue in the California wildfires.
Very first U.S. Olympics ever.
Here in St. Louis, back in 1904.
Yeah.
CBS Sports Spectacular presents the Musial Awards. Sponsored by Maryville University. Many connections. One you at maryville.edu. Edward Jones. It's time for investing to feel individual. And Enterprise. Rent, buy, or share. How can Enterprise pick you up today?
Well, we have had quite a year in sports in St. Louis. Announcements of new franchises, awarding of big-time events, postseason baseball. But of course, we can't top a Stanley Cup title. Out of that glorious run came two stories worthy of Musial recognition. One involves this year's recipient of the Musial Award for Extraordinary Character. We'll meet her in just a moment. The other is a wonderful example of sportsmanship in the broadcast booth. Heading into the Stanley Cup Finals, Blues announcer Chris Kerber made an ultra-classy move that resonated with fans and fellow broadcasters.
John Kelly has spent 30 years as a TV broadcaster calling the NHL. Since 2005, he's been proudly calling St. Louis Blues games on Fox Sports Midwest. See, John carried down this tradition from his dad, the late Dan Kelly, a broadcasting Hall of Famer and a beloved radio and TV voice of the Blues for 21 years.
10 seconds left in the penalty.
But unlike his dad, who called 16 Stanley Cup Finals, John never had that chance. And even this year, when the Blues got to the finals, it wasn't in the cards for John because the finals are handed over to the NHL's national broadcast rights holder, so their announcers would take over. But before the series started, something special happened in the radio booth. In an act of true selflessness, Chris Kerber, the Blues radio announcer, told John he was yielding his spot behind the mic in the second period of every game in the Stanley Cup Final to John.
And again, thanks to Chris Kerber for this great honor to have a chance to call the Stanley Cup Final.
Remember, this is his profession. This is his life. This is how his voice will be remembered too. And not just to do it for one game, but every game. I'm still blown away by that. But knowing the heart and the person that Chris Kerber is, none of this is a surprise.
History will be made tonight in Boston.
I was so shocked that he did it, but at the same time, in hindsight, that's the kind of person Chris is. He's a really good person. He thinks of other people. It certainly meant a whole lot to me to be part of that.
Here's Chris Kerber. As a fellow broadcaster, this was an amazing gesture that really rang true for all of us. We couldn't believe that you actually did this, because what people don't understand is that the calls that you make will live forever. I just want to know John Kelly's reaction when you first took him aside and said, let's do this.
We were standing in line to take our picture next to the Clarence Campbell Bowl, and I said, you're calling the second period of every single game in the final, and then I went up with some buddies and took some pictures, and he looked at me and said, no, I'm not. I turned around and said, you don't have a choice, and then I walked away before he could argue with me. I mean, I'm in tears. When you see 11-year-olds saying that the race is not important, but somebody I didn't know that fell down is, that's a message that resonates with anybody, no matter how old you are. You just never know when one simple act can resonate deeper than you ever would have thought. So I just would encourage everybody every day, when you put your head on the pillow, what'd you do for somebody else today?
Words to live by. Chris, thank you very much, and congratulations. Congratulations. Now the Musial Award for Extraordinary Character. It recognizes an individual who demonstrates remarkable poise, perseverance, and overall sportsmanship. Past recipients include Little League World Series sensation Monet Davis, women's basketball star Tamika Catchings, last year's winner, 99 years old at the time, Loyola University basketball chaplain Sister Jean. Tonight, joining that company, Layla Anderson.
I am Layla Anderson. I am 11 years old. Some people know me as the Blues good luck charm. Hockey is in my blood, and I was born to watch St. Louis Blues hockey.
Layla had more on her mind than hockey. She was fighting for her life.
So the doctors said, okay, Layla, you have HLH. Basically, your immune system is attacking your brain.
To fix that, I had to get all new bone marrow.
But her illness didn't weaken her passion for the Blues, who were fighting their battle on the ice.
Basically, when I was in the hospital, they were in last place. And as I think of it, I was in last place.
We're going through such a hard time, and she was obviously going through a life-challenging time that we kind of can put them parallel to each other in the sense that we're both in a battle.
Thanks to a program called Be the Match, Layla found a donor.
And after I got my bone marrow transplant, the blues were starting to get better. I was getting better, the blues were getting better. We were kind of tied together. Everything was working for both of us. They were out of last place and actually doing really well.
As much as Layla loves the blues love Layla.
Hey, Layla. Hey, Layla. Hey. Boys are all here. Just wanted to send you a video and say congratulations. I'm definitely so proud of you. You're such an inspiration for all of us. Keep fighting and can't wait to see you.
Here's back at you. There's no way in a million years that my doctor's gonna let me fly up to Boston and see Game 7. Like, that's not gonna happen.
What if I told you the Blues called and they want you at the game?
How?
Doctor said it's okay.
No, he didn't. Mommy, no, he didn't. Oh my God.
And so I told them at that time, yes, still gotta wear a mask, gotta wear gloves, you know. Don't be hugging hockey players.
Don't be kissing the Stanley Cup.
No, we did not talk
about specifically cover that.
That we did not.
Honestly, when she told me that was like the coolest thing ever. I kind of have goosebumps right now just thinking about it.
Go!
They did it! The wait is over! And the St. Louis Blues are the Stanley Cup champions!
A very special moment I'll never forget, going on the ice with her after.
I was in tears. I couldn't have been more proud. Did we know that the players are taking the cup and letting fans touch it and kiss it? Would we have let Layla kiss it? Probably would have said no, but she's like, Dad, it's the Stanley Cup. It's like the Holy Grail. It has healing powers.
All of our rings in the inside have her name on the bottom band, so I mean, we're all kind of bonded together now for life.
The Blues even presented Layla her own championship ring.
She was part of the group from the get-go. You know, a big piece of our team and our organization, and big reason as to why we won. So.
Layla's been given a new life. She's going to do everything that she can to bring awareness to her disease and to help other people.
It couldn't have ended any other way. It is a fairy tale, absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, the recipient of the Musial Award for Extraordinary Character, here's Layla Anderson. How are you?
Good.
How are you feeling? Everybody wants to know how you're feeling and how school's going.
Great and great.
Tell everybody about Be the Match.
It's really easy. You swab your cheek, and you can see if you're a match for someone. It costs us, the patient, and the donor nothing. Be the Match pays for everything. So if I have one word for everyone is please donate to Be the Match and help give more kids and more adults the second chance of life like I was given.
Okay, the Blues won one Stanley Cup. Can they do it again this year?
Make it to the playoffs, and we'll go from there, so yes.
Go from there. Give me 5. Way to go, Layla. Congratulations.
Still to come, a baseball fan's high school dream comes true. A volleyball team puts competition aside to rally for their rivals. And we honor 2 gymnastics legends.
We're in St. Louis, the home of Jackie Joyner-Kersee. He's a runner like us.
Welcome back to the Musial Awards, presented by Maryville University and produced by the St. Louis Sports Commission and the National Sportsmanship Foundation.
Out of tragedy, we often see the best in people. The human spirit pulls us to come to the aid of those in need. That was true last fall following the devastating Camp Fire in Northern California. In its aftermath came amazing acts of kindness, generosity, and yes, sportsmanship.
It was about an hour after school started that the principal announced they needed to evacuate.
I remember going outside and just, like, the sun had disappeared.
It's 12:30 in the afternoon right now.
And you're just like, wow, what's happening?
It hadn't rained in Paradise since May, and now it was sleeting ash and bark. The two most important words at this point were get out.
I remember looking at a picture I have of me and my dad when I was in kindergarten and grabbing that, and that's basically it.
But Stacy's mom was stuck at the local hospital.
I had to leave my mom at the hospital, which was really scary, sorry. She told me she loved me. I'm sorry.
Lyra Potter's mom works at the hospital too.
She told me, she said, there's trees burning on all sides of me, and there's fires like 2 feet away from my car, and there are cars burning. She said goodbye to me, and there's nothing that compares to hearing those words come from the most important person in your life.
Many families were not as lucky as Stacy and Lyra. Their moms are okay. Their homes, however, were among the 14,000 reduced to rubble. After everything that happened, you might imagine that volleyball would be the last thing on the girls' priority list.
The biggest volleyball match in school history was scheduled just 2 days after this horrific fire. The girls were all safe, but the coach called a meeting to see if they even wanted to play.
He just said, do you guys want to play the game? And straightforward, everyone said yes.
1, 2, 3, focus!
This is Forest Lake Christian School in Auburn, California. When they heard that Paradise was actually going to show up for their state semifinal match, they immediately began to prepare.
So we just made a list. We were like, what are these girls gonna need?
These two teams had never met, but when the Paradise girls stepped into the Forest Lake gym that night, it was like stepping into a giant hug.
It was mind-blowing. I've never felt a love like that before from someone I've never known. I had never even met these girls.
And it wasn't just the players, it was the entire Forest Lake community.
Our entire library was filled with donations, and that didn't come from one person, that came from everybody. We had all the uniforms and shoes and knee pads and socks and everything all laid out on the bleachers.
Not only had they made us jerseys, but they actually had everybody's number correct.
Competition turned into compassion.
We have over $300 each, gift cards and things for you guys so you can go out and get the things that you need and what you want and just make every day just a little bit better. So Coach, you're going to hand this out to your girls.
They should be the model for kindness, generosity, love, compassion.
Jason and Stacy Weisner are here to present the Musial Award to Forest Lake Christian. Representing the Forest Lake Christian volleyball team are Principal and Athletic Director LaRon Gordon, last year's coach Travis Smith, and senior Bella O'Neill. Tell me about that atmosphere in that gym that night.
Well, I've been around sports my whole life. I've been coaching for over 20 years, and I've never seen electricity in the gym like that night.
You didn't have a week to prepare. This was just basically hours.
Yes, so the girls on our team basically reached out and just said whatever you can do helps, and all the surrounding schools around us were willing to help us get the things you guys needed, your shampoo, your conditioner, your gift cards, just to kind of get your lives back together.
And talk about the rebuild. It's rebuilding.
Yeah, it's coming back. Things are progressing really well, and so it's exciting to see that transformation back to the town that we know.
Well, this is a story that will stick with me for a long time. Congratulations. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Follow the Musial Awards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also nominate an extraordinary act of sportsmanship and see more inspiring stories at musialawards.com. Up next, 2 high school baseball teams that put kindness before competition to make one young man's dream come true. And later, the couple with gold medal spirit, Bart and Nadia Comaneci.
We're about to go into the tallest monument in America.
There's Bush Stadium.
This CBS Sports Spectacular, the Musial Awards, is sponsored by Maryville University. Many connections, one you at maryville.edu. Worldwide Technology, experience Silicon Valley in St. Louis. And Centene, transforming the health of the community one person at a time.
To the Southwest we go, where 2 high school baseball teams and their coaches prove that hard-fought rivalries and kindness are not mutually exclusive. You can maintain a competitive spirit and still be good sports, making someone's day in the process.
All right, here we go.
Apollo High School in Glendale, Arizona. The baseball program here is known for 2 things: consistency and intensity.
Our kids are hard-nosed kids, hardworking kids, come from very good families. Coach tells us no matter how much we're up by or how much we're down by, just never give up.
Be humble and always hustle is something they believe in. And there's someone they believe in even more. Meet Julian Areves Beltran, perhaps the most popular person in the whole school.
You're not supposed to have your favorites, you know, but he is one of my favorites.
Instead of trying to fit in, he's been able to stand out, whether he's playing his accordion or playing ball with his guys.
Yes. Guys, come here. He always sits at the same lunch table with those guys. And
This is my friend, this is my school.
He's so heartwarming, man. Like, no matter what happens, he's always happy, and it rubs off on everyone.
The team loves having Julian around, no matter how the season is going and no matter who the team is playing, including the one team they want to beat more than the rest.
Good job.
Just 6 miles from Apollo, you will find Sunny Slope High School.
I feel like we're usually competing for a chance to play in the state tournament and make a run. Back to it, coming at you, Shill.
Coach Jeff Shillington calls the rivalry with Apollo heated but healthy. But about 10 years ago, it was just heated.
Their guy was on the mound, and I felt like he balked. And so I said something to the umpire as the kid was pitching, which was, you know, me being young and energetic. And I said he balked, and coach immediately yelled at me, you know, don't yell at my players, something to that effect, I believe. I was fired up after the game. I want to stay with it.
Over time, though, the 2 coaches built a close friendship based on mutual respect. Which is why when Coach Aker needed a favor recently, he called Coach Shillington. Apollo and Sunny Slope often meet in the final game of the regular season with the region title on the line. But as Coach Akers was preparing his team for this year's rivalry game, he had something else on his mind. Julian.
Julian had watched some games from the stands, some from the dugout, but there's one thing he wanted to do more than anything else: get into a game.
And there's some coaches who would be like, well, you know, I don't know. And I knew he would say, let's roll with it. Julian, you want to break it down for us?
Yeah.
And so it was, even on the season's biggest stage, plans were made to give Julian his time in the spotlight.
I had said, hey, do you want to just have Julian lead off? You know, get it going with the game, and then we'll just start the game. And Jeff's like, heck no. Let's have him lead off the bottom of the first.
No one was more excited for Julian than Julian's guys. But the Sunny Slope players were also very much on board.
Okay. I just thought it was cool to help somebody out like this.
Julian showed up with the team, got dressed with the team, and wanted to do his part for the team.
I'm gonna hit it, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna hit a base.
And in the bottom of the first, in front of an eager crowd, on the 3rd pitch, That's exactly what he did.
Just one of the greatest things I've ever been a part of. I'll never forget it. Just seeing him run those bases so happy.
And even though it wasn't going on the scoreboard, this was one run that really counted.
He crossed home. It was like nothing I've ever experienced. It was the happiest I've ever been, the happiest I've ever seen him.
Let's welcome Julian Arribas Beltran. And from Apollo High School in Glendale, Arizona, and Sunny Slope High School in Phoenix, here are Jared Aker and Jeff Shillington. So, Coach, tell me a little bit more about the friendship this team has with Julian.
Oh, it's off the charts. Half of them work at Sonic there by the school, and he's always going over there, so that's a good thing.
And you guys decided to do this not like in the first game of the year or in the middle of the year. This was the biggest stage for you guys.
Yeah, it was, and I wanted to count that run, but Jeff wouldn't let me.
And Jeff, when you approached your team about this, what did they say?
Oh, they were all for it. I mean, I have a son on the team, and I hope it leaves a lasting impression for them. They'll remember it, I think, a lot longer than they'll remember the final score of the game.
And Julian, are you having fun?
Yes.
Congratulations, guys. Really appreciate it. Congratulations.
A Musial salute goes to Merrick Bush, a high school state champion wrestler from Ilion, New York, who demonstrated remarkable sportsmanship on the mat. Merrick was facing a sure loss in a rival match last year, down 7-0 with under a minute left on the clock. Then his opponent suddenly landed awkwardly, fracturing his right arm. Rather than win the match by injury default, in an act of true selflessness, Merrick made no moves, allowing his injured opponent to ride out the final seconds of the match to the win.
Baseball legend Stan Musial stood for kindness, generosity, and good sportsmanship. 3 characteristics that truly embody tonight's Lifetime Achievement Award winners. Up next, Nadia Comaneci and Bart Connor.
Since 2014, I've had the distinct pleasure of introducing 5 recipients for the Stan Musial Lifetime Achievement Award. Recipients are iconic sports figures who exemplify the same values that define my grandfather's legacy. And this year's recipients are no exception. They exemplified excellence, class, grace, and humility. Together, they have led their lives inspiring others and contributing to the greater good.
My mom and dad have 11 gold medals combined. My mom got 9 of them, but we don't say that. They're just really awesome people.
Not many kids in Norman, Oklahoma can say their parents are world-famous athletes.
I think what makes it special is not their celebrity, but who they are deep inside them, their heart and soul.
From their own community where they teach kids the importance of sports and sportsmanship,
you need to play fair, you need to treat your competitors with respect, and you need to treat your sport with honor.
to places around the world where they're making a difference in people's lives.
All over the world, trying to engage underserved kids in all different sports.
Which is why they are passionate about the Special Olympics.
I
met Bart and Nadia 35 years ago when they began their journey with the Special Olympics movement, and it's been uninterrupted every day since. We have never had two better friends in sports, and we have never had two better sport leaders than Bart Conner and Nadia Comaneci.
They're sincere people. They care about helping.
Actions speak a lot more than words. And if you look at their actions, you look at what they do day to day to make this world a little better, I think we'd be very proud.
We are honored to have the Musial family with us to present the Lifetime Achievement Award. And now the recipients of the 2019 Stan Musial Lifetime Achievement Award for Sportsmanship, Bart Conner and Nadia Comaneci. Congratulations. Thank you both.
I have one tissue left.
I'm really curious what this night kind of means to you.
It's unbelievably emotional. I don't think I've been to any award that's been so inspiring, and I was getting very nervous to walk those stairs, which are a lot wider than the balance beam, and I cannot believe how many inspiring stories are in the world.
Thank you, sir.
So take us back to the Perfect Tens in 1976. What do you remember about that time?
43 years ago. It doesn't feel like it's been such a long time. That was the year that I met Bart, actually, a few months before that, which I didn't remember many years later.
Well, first of all, my son busts my chops on the video.
So what goes through your mind when you see, I mean, you don't see tens ever. What goes through, especially at the Olympics, what goes through your mind when you saw that?
Usually I don't watch the scoreboard, and I heard the big noise in the arena, and I turned around because I didn't know what happened. And I see the scoreboard coming around with a 1.00, which you know is not a good score. And I looked at my teammates, and I just turned my head and I said, what's something wrong with the scoreboard? Because I think I did better than one. And I had no idea that the scoreboard could not accommodate a 10. Because the people who created that, they said that nobody's going to score a 10 in the Olympics.
Yeah. What are your memories of 1984?
Well, you know, before that, of course, in fourth grade, I was walking around the gym class on my hands, and my fourth grade PE teacher said, hey, you know, you could be pretty good at gymnastics. I want to take you over to the high school and introduce you to John Burkle. Maybe he could coach you a little bit. So tonight, I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude, not only the journey that I've been able to experience, but mostly the gratitude for the people I met along the way. And my biggest takeaway from tonight, I think this is not only one of the most important sports awards shows, but I think this is maybe the most important award show I've ever seen of any kind. I truly believe, especially these days with how divided our country is, we need more of this. We need more people showing kindness and courtesy, and you all shine a spotlight on that. And we have a 13-year-old son, Dylan, who is the love of our life. And I think every 13-year-old needs to see this. They need to see the goodness of humanity and how you can pay it forward. And so tonight, not only do I feel validated and supported, but I also feel challenged to do even better. And thank you for doing that.
The Musial Award for Extraordinary Character and the Lifetime Achievement Award for Sportsmanship are presented thanks to the generosity of Edward Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, here they are, the recipients of the 2019 Musial Awards. And there you have it. On behalf of the St. Louis Sports Commission and the National Sportsmanship Foundation, thank you for joining us for the Musial Awards presented by Maryville University. So long from Stifel Theatre in St. Louis.